Hey, Amy,
Yeah, Juan.
give me that beat.
It's Baseball Shangri-La with Amy Cuevas and Juan Ramirez.
What's up, party people? She is Amy Cuevas. I am Juan Ramirez. You are listening or watching Baseball Shangri-La. If you are listening to us on the audio portion, please make sure you're subscribed to the podcast. Rate us, write us a review, help spread the word. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. Hit that notification button. Give us a thumbs up. Leave us comments. We love engaging with you. And most importantly, make sure you're following us on social media, on X at BB Shangri-La, on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch at Baseball Shangri-La. Amy, ¿cómo estás?
I'm so glad I brought coffee today because you have so much energy. I realized as the theme song was going, I'm just kind of bobbing my head along, and you are just ready to go out the gate.
That's right, cocaine. It's a hell of a drug. Let me tell you something. I have my own version of cocaine. It's called Dr. Pepper. So I have.
Oh, dear.
I'm fighting a very strong addiction to the good doctor. So much so that my wife sent me one of those like mouse traps, but they had Dr. Peppers inside of it.
I
And
almost just spit my coffee everywhere.
spit take? You weren't expecting that one?
I was not.
How was your weekend, Amy?
It was good. We had a lot of ups and downs in baseball this weekend.
You know what? It was a crazy weekend, so let's get into it. But before we recap what's at the Dodgers weekend baseball updates, do we have updates, Amy?
Um, Not really. I think Yamamoto is actually supposed to be playing with Oklahoma City tonight, so the goal is to get him up to 3 innings. So I'm sure we'll hear Tuesday night what that's supposed to look like. Other than the moves that they made last week, so if anybody was paying attention, Honeywell got recalled. Ben Kasparius got brought up, made his debut, also got his first win, which we'll talk about. And then we had a lot of injuries and whatnot that involved more moves, with Grove being recalled, Kasparius then being optioned, Robleski coming up, Michael Peterson getting called up. So I'm sure we'll cover that more as we go through, but that's about all I have.
That's the beauty of expanding rosters now. Before, back in the day, you had like two dugouts worth of players. Now they only expanded the rosters two for two players. So that's why Robleski was able to be called out without a corresponding move. And poor guy, he did a service. He took one for the team this weekend, and we are definitely going to get into that.
Oh, man.
Let's talk some baseball, because this was like, for me, Amy, this was you have to give flowers to the Doyers. I know you guys all think I'm the Prince of Darkness, and I always sit here and try to find the negative.
Wait,
Go
are
ahead.
you about to be positive? Hold on, I need
Well,
to brace myself. Okay, go.
you guys think that I'm just like negative, just that I like being mean, and that's not the case. My thing is this: you need to give credit where credit is due. So sometimes, when the Dodgers lose, everyone just thinks, oh, the Dodgers beat themselves. But it's like, no, you have to give credit to the other team too. And somehow, if I give credit to the other team, I'm viewed as a hater or stuff like that. But
Oh,
for the Dodgers to beat the Orioles 2 out of 3, this is a team that is fighting for the division in the American League East, that is also up there in having one of the best records in all of Major League Baseball. And not only taking 2 out of 3 in that series, but then going to Arizona to play the Serpientes and taking 3 out of 4 against the team with the best record in all of Major League Baseball since the All-Star break. Don't you have to give the Doyers? They did what they had to do. They did what people wanted them to do. So they deserve flores for that.
I mean, I totally agree. Even with that Orioles series,
I've totally shocked you, right? Yeah, you
I
don't. You have this look on your face, like I don't know what to expect. I was totally waiting for you to crap on them.
no, it's not even that. It's part of me is like, wait, people give you crap for like giving the other team flat. Like, no, let's not do that. But um
There's a lot of fertilizer going around when I'm talking. That's all I'm saying.
I
So.
don't think so. Um the fact that they won that Orioles series and we had Bueller and Mitchell, wow, I can't even talk today. It's the
I
coffee
love
hasn't
that.
kicked in.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mitcher. Is he a new
Mitchell.
acquisition?
He is. Yeah,
Where were the Dodgers hiding
they
Mitcher?
just selected his contract. Bueller and Miller. Wow, I don't even know where Mitcher came from. But the fact that both of them are still kind of finding their footing and we still won with them, behind the helm, like I think it's good news. I'm hoping that also bolsters their confidence too as they're kind of trying to figure things out. But there was even some small ball this week going on. Miguel Rojas like bunted. Like I don't know what's happening in the world. You're being positive. We've got small ball being played. Like, should I be looking for cats and dogs raining outside my window? Like it's
Absolutely. It's mass hysteria. Cats and dogs living together. It's mass hysteria. I mean, it is, it is fascinating to me. And I think you nailed it. To me, that was the biggest takeaway of that Baltimore Orioles series, was the fact that they won the series, and they won it based on the fact that they won the games that Walker Buehler and Bobby Miller pitched. For them to do that, I look, that was not on my bingo card. I was really worried about what Walker Buehler was going to look like against the Orioles.
okay. You sound more like yourself now. All right, we're good. We're good.
And Bobby Miller. What's really interesting for me, and I want to see what he looks like in Anaheim, because it seems like the majority of his bad starts this year have been on the road. Now, it wasn't like he was lights out, in that, he had that bad. I don't want to call it a bad inning. It was just he made a big mistake and he got hit for a home run there. And that was a large chunk. If he can find a way to avoid that, his outing looks much better. But it seems like at home, he looks like a different pitcher than he does on the road. So I want to see what he looks like in Anaheim. But yeah, I mean, for me, that first game against the Orioles, that felt like a playoff game. That felt like this is what we're going to see in the playoffs. We're going to see a 3-2 ball game, a close ball game.
I was going to say the score is indicative of playoff scores.
And it was a good. I mean, it was a well played game. But the Dodgers, again, with runners in scoring position, and that's why it felt like the playoffs, where it's like, I've seen this before. The Dodgers have a lot of traffic, and they can't cash it in.
That first game, though, we had runners in scoring position maybe once or twice, but it wasn't like it's been pronounced throughout the entire game. There were a lot of flyouts and strikeouts in that game. So it was just, I'm hoping from what we saw in the ones thereafter, the offense really did start picking up, especially as we see, and that's going to be a theme as we're talking, pitchers are giving up runs pretty early in the game. And sometimes that's insurmountable, as was the case with Sunday's game. But our offense has actually been doing a pretty good job of either coming back or, getting a lot of those runs in the beginning to bolster the pitchers.
Those are some of the points that I want to get to in the Serpientes series, but I will say this in terms of the Orioles series, like that middle game 2, the Buehler game. Look, they hit Corbin Burns, and for some reason, the Dodgers have success against Corbin Burns, and this is one of those guys who's supposed to be an elite pitcher in the American League. So the fact that and plus the Orioles played a really sloppy game in that game too. That was an ugly game, and then it got ugly on both sides because then the Dodgers, the circus music started playing, and they started making some plays that you're just like, what's going on?
It was definitely both sides where it was just like, oh gosh, and it was like, wait, which team? Oh god, at least they're both doing it.
Yeah, so you went from a really tight game in game 1 to a really sloppy game in game 2. And then in game 3, to me, I was impressed because they made that Orioles pitcher work and they beat him. So I was very pleasantly surprised to see, because this was a stretch. It's finally ended, but they went through a stretch there where they were playing teams that were all fighting for playoff position. So it wasn't like they were just going, they had any gimmies, and they've been playing really, they've been very successful. I don't want to go as far as to say they're playing really good baseball, because there is some
Heaven forbid you
no,
be overly positive.
there's in some inconsistencies there, and I want to, and to me, I want to bring them up in the Serpientes series. But it seems to me like the Serpientes series, because it's a 4-game series, and because it was crazy, it was at 4 games of just absolute madness.
And
I
it
think
felt like a playoff atmosphere, even in that stadium. Even the players were saying it in some of the pre-games, because I think we had a Roku game in there mixed in.
I think it was a good thing that the Roku game was on Sunday, because I don't think a lot of people saw the ugliness on Sunday. But the majority of my points that I think I want to talk about are in that Serpientes series. So is there anything else that you want to touch on that Orioles series between the Dodgers?
No, just that especially that third game, that was when they were doing, like, they really started picking up the small ball, and it was just like, yes, move these guys over, like, great job. And you saw the effect of it. Like, we chased that pitcher from the game, I think I think in the third? No, going into the fourth. So I think he made it through, and maybe trying to see here. He made it through. He got pulled in the fourth. We're gonna go with that.
All right.
I'm not counting boxes on my scorecard right now.
So at the time we are recording this is right before the beginning of Game 1 of the Freeway Series, a 2-game set at Angels Stadium. And so at this time, the Dodgers have a 5-game lead against the Show Pods, because the Show Pods now are in second place, and they have a 6-game lead over the Serpientes. They are done with the Serpientes this year. They ended up winning the series, which is important because they will have a tiebreaker now with the Serpientes. Now,
and they went 19-8 in August. Like, great job for them, especially after I think July was their first like really losing month in a long time. So to go 19-8, and for everybody who's crying and just, God, the Dodgers should be able to do better, we're leading the league. So for everybody whose expectations are up here and the Dodgers just aren't there, we're leading the league. It's so.
It is absolutely crazy to me that they have the best record in Major League Baseball. After seeing what they went through in July, and the injuries that they've had to deal with, and the holes that this team has, for them to have the best record in Major League Baseball. And again, it's one of those things where I tell myself every year, Amie, I go, don't bet against them. Don't bet against them, because every year they do this, every year. And then I get caught up. I am just a victim of the moment. I sit there and go, oh, this team sucks. I can't believe this, and stuff like that. And look what happens. We are now in September, and they have the best record in Major League Baseball.
I don't know if our good friend Philip Lopez would agree or not, but I might even say that might just be baseball. Like, it's almost
there
like
it is. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. 13 minutes into the program. 13 minutes into the program, we have our first It's Just Baseball.
Well, just the fact that, like, our team isn't the only one that has injuries. Like, are we one of the ones leading? Absolutely. But there are other teams that are getting knocked out right now because their injuries are too much to overcome. So it's almost like this is just part of the game. So.
All right, let's talk about this Serpientes series, because this was big. The Dodgers went into Arizona with a 4-game lead. If things didn't go well, again, the Serpientes have the best record since the All-Star break in all of Major League Baseball. A sweep by the Serpientes, and we got ourselves a real pennant chase going into September. But the Dodgers, they took care of business. They won 3 out of 4. Now, I will say this.
Here we go.
I was not a fan of this weekend's baseball. I can't stand. It felt like I was watching softball. It is when you have double digits. You had a 10-9 game, a 14-3 game, an 11-6 game,
and an 8-6. I mean, that's not the double digits, but it's still a lot of runs.
I mean, compare that to the 3-2 game that you played earlier in the week against the Orioles. That's, to me, the kind of baseball that I prefer. Now, I know that there are people out there that love to see a lot of runs, but for me, that's too many runs. So it did feel like it was a
So,
softball game.
so you're saying you disagree with Rob Manfred and you don't want to see the ball in play?
Well, I disagree with Manfredi on a lot of things. I mean, like I said, the casual, they may love this. They may love seeing a lot of runs on the board, but like we're going to talk about what happened to poor Robleski. But having to see Robleski wear it the way he wore it, like to me, that's not fun.
Well, and part of that's where I think we need a mercy rule at some point where like there needs to be an agreeable amount of like, okay, guys, let's just save the players. Let's save like there's no coming back from this. Let's not injure anybody further.
And I know you're going to piss off people the minute they hear you say you're calling for a mercy rule, but basically the Dodgers put up the white flag in the third inning. They took out all their players.
Well, and part of the reason that he had to wear it goes back to Friday night because Kershaw was only able to make it through one inning. He started the second inning, gave a home run up to Corbin Carroll, and then after they had to pull him because of his what was it, his left big toe bone spur. He's always apparently had them, but right now it's inflamed and it was just inhibiting his ability to pitch. And so
and they say he's been dealing with this for years.
I mean, even post surgery, the guy's like, I don't know what it's like to not be pain free. This is unique for me. So this is where I have a little bit more. I don't want to say like we lean on the humanity of the game, but like these guys really do give it their all. They play hurt, and not just because we've got to do it and the contracts, and they're not doing it for us out in the fans. They're doing it so that they stay in that lineup, so that they stay on the roster. Because the minute they're out, that's where you could bring somebody up who's doing better, and they might get your spot. Like that's just the nature of the beast with baseball, and these guys play through a lot of like stuff that none of us would ever be able to or want to deal with.
I saw some video earlier today
of his big toe.
On Twitter of him throwing the baseball at Anaheim at the big Edison Field, but he's in a boot. He's in a walking boot.
Oh, poor guy.
So that for sure, we shall see if it's going to be 15 days. Who knows?
I was going to say, for anybody who's ever had, like, you cut your toenail wrong and it hurts when you walk, can you imagine it being 10 times worse and you're pitching on it, like potentially landing on that foot or using that for leverage? Like, oh, no, thank you.
Yeah. I don't know what the recovery time is for this. Like, I don't. And look, at the last few outings, he has not looked good. He didn't look good against the Rios, and the D-backs were hitting him hard in that inning before the mercy killing happened and they took him out. But it's one of those things where is that maybe explaining why? Because prior to that, he was pitching really well, and he, like I said, he was giving everybody the impression, oh, Kershaw's going to pitch game one. Look at him. He's pitching the best out of everybody. So now is it possible that this injury is explaining the reason why he hasn't looked good his last two outings?
It's definitely a potential factor. And the fact that we had to go through 7 other pitchers, and now I feel like we overused Joe Kelly. When he was in there and they brought him in for the second inning, I'm like, oh, this is not going to bode well. And sure enough, the next day he ended up on the IL with shoulder inflammation.
And who knows how long that's been bothering him. So that's the thing is I don't understand if the reason why Joe Kelly has been ineffective or he has been inconsistent is because of that shoulder issue. Who knows how long he's been dealing with it?
Well, didn't he have that last year though? He was on the IL for that as well. Part of the reason that he gave last year was it's just wear and tear of being in the major league for as many years as he's been in. So when you have something like that, I'm not saying we need to handle him with kid gloves, but going an inning in 2/3, throwing as many pitches as he did, I don't think it was helping in that respect.
Yeah, so Friday was rough, but the Dodgers ended up pulling it through, and they won 10-9. A friend, Juan Toribio of MLB.com, wrote a very, very interesting article that I want to give him credit for. Because on this show, we give credit to writers. You okay? You all right over there?
Mhm.
Okay.
Go on.
Is it getting a little cold over there because of the
No,
shade,
no. Just credit your sources, folks.
yeah, give credit to people. But Juan Toribio wrote an excellent article. And in it, I think what he wrote was his 3 takeaways from that series. And I think he's spot on what those takeaways are. And the first takeaway he took was that the top 3, Shohei, Mookie, and Federico, and I don't think this is Toribio going out on the limb, but he's like, those guys are going to be what's going to determine the Dodgers' fate. Meaning, if those guys play like superstars, the Dodgers have a shot to get to the World Series.
You mean like the back-to-back-to-back home runs in Saturday's game? The Dodgers were busy cranking out stats for everybody to post as far as like that's the 16th time in franchise history that they've done that. The last time they did that was April 13th in 2022 against the Twins. It was Bellinger, Lux, and Barnes. Like everybody was just like, whoa, there goes one, there goes another. And then Freddie comes up and cranks out another one. And it was just like, did we just see what we saw?
And not only that, we totally left out the fact that the Dodgers took 2 out of 3 from the Baltimore Orioles, and Freddie didn't play any of those games.
Mhm.
Like Federico was riding the bench, and at that point, I was sitting there going, man, maybe this finger's really bothering Federico. I was also thinking, because we don't know what's going on with his kid. Yeah, maybe he was getting better, but it's still like the emotional toll that having to see your kid have to relearn that stuff, that could be messing with him. And then he shows up in Arizona and goes absolutely nuts. Federico's just like, hey, Juan, shut up. You shut up at yourself.
He hit 4 home runs in that series against Arizona. Like, so almost one a night. I think he didn't hit one on Sunday, obviously, when we needed it. And then he made up for it by hitting 2 on Monday. I think they were talking to him and he was saying with that fracture of his finger, he's fine to hit, as we saw. It's the fielding, it's the throwing that's a little bit more challenging. But you know what? Give the guy credit. He's playing through it. Again, that just, no thanks.
Yeah, so let's get some flores to Federico, who showed up in that Arizona series. Look, I want to mention Mookie because I think Mookie has been clutch, getting big hits when we need him.
He gets a little overshadowed with everything going on.
Yeah, he does. And because I'm going to spend a lot of time on the next guy of that threesome, but anything you want to add on Mookie?
Well, I was just going to say some of that we're going to be talking about in the next episode too. So,
do you have anything else on Mookie before I speak glowingly about the unicorn?
No, he's consistent. The guy, like, he shows up. He's a workhorse. He's amazing. I'm just looking at my scorecards. He shows up and he plays. I mean, except when they got pulled in the 3rd inning on Sunday. But
she's got scorecards, folks. You know what that means?
Net
alert.
Oh man, I was getting ready watching Lord of the Rings while I was doing the last.
Nerd alert! Nerd alert! There is an alert for a big nerd.
Don't you nerd shame me.
9 hours of walking, ladies and gentlemen. That is what she's a fan of. 9 hours of walking.
Juan almost fell down when we were in the press box the other weekend when I told him I love to reread it every couple of years. So,
wow.
All right, I digress. Mookie Betts, he's amazing.
What do you got against the average height? I just don't understand.
I myself am hobbit-sized, so.
Oh, no, you're not.
But yeah, I mean, Betts has been showing up. He, whether it's like sacrifice flies or singles, doubles, he is a pivotal part. I know he wants to be in that leadoff spot, but I think he's doing a great job in that second hole. And these guys are firing on all cylinders right now.
Look, I want to spend some time on the unicorn because this is ridiculous. This guy is doing things that we have never seen before, and I feel like we're still taking it for granted, Amie. Like
I think some people also don't understand the magnitude of it, though. Like we were talking about this last week. I was talking to somebody, and they're like, "What's the big deal about
that's what I
40 and
feel like
40?"
the
Where it's
vibe is.
like, and it doesn't matter that it's Shohei. Anybody who's breaking into a club that only had 5 people up to this point. I know that stats are changing. Like you read any article that comes out every couple of months of, we have fewer and fewer pitchers that are going to reach this stat. We have fewer and fewer hitters that are going to reach this one. With platooning, this is making this stat go by the wayside. I get it. But when you have something like this that is so specialized, and somebody makes it in there and they have the opportunity to also continue going because we have 20 some odd games still left in the season and they can do something that nobody else has done. I think it's pretty amazing, but I'm wondering how many people realize the magnitude of what that stat is and what it means to go beyond it.
Yeah. I mean, so he is officially, at the time that we are recording this is before the Angels series, the series with the Angelitos, 44 home runs, 46 stolen bases. Amie, it was just last week that you and I were talking saying, man, it's going to be hard for him to get to 50-50. I don't know if he's going to do it.
I'm like, whoa. Let's try for 45-45 first. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
We're almost at 45-45. Like for me,
you could
now,
split the difference right now, and the average would be.
I mean, he stole 3 stolen bases on Sunday, and I really thought, the stolen bases, I thought that maybe it would be hard. They wouldn't give him the green light. Now I'm thinking to myself, he's going to get to 50 stolen bases before he gets to 50 home runs. It's just going to be a matter of, will he get the home runs now? Like, I think he has a legitimate I know there are some people out there, now I'm not going to go that far because slumps happen, but there are people out there going, it's a given that he's going to get to 50-50. And I'm just like, I don't
like
know.
to put that kind of pressure on people just because it's a lot. But speaking of quoting our sources, Eric Steven posted a stat up that in the 6 seasons that he was with the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim.
Don't do that. Don't do that. They are the Anaheim Angels. They will always be the Anaheim Angels. They are frauds over there.
Okay.
They suffer. They have the backbone of a chocolate eclair. For them, with a straight face, to claim that they are from Los Angeles, it is shameful because they are only doing it for marketing purposes. All right.
Hey, Tom. Do you want to slide that soapbox away? Just maybe move it a few feet further.
I'm just very disappointed in Artie. Disappointed in Artie.
There are many people, and we'll get to that in our next episode. But as far as the stat, the 6 seasons with the Angels, in 7 games, he stole at least 2 bases. And with the Dodgers just this year, in 7 games, he stole at least 2 bases. And in 2 games, he stole 3 bases. Like, that's astounding to me. Like, that he's just basically up the ante. He's like, again, hold my beer. Like, that needs to just be his tagline. What beer is he gonna sponsor? Have sponsor him?
Sapporo. He's gonna have Sapporo. It's gonna be Sapporo
or Asahi. One of those.
There you go. I wish we had Eric Steven on the show right now because I could go up to Eric and have him give me this stat. But what is fascinating to me, Amie, is it feels like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I have this impression that it seems like the stolen bases have come in bunches. It seems like somehow all of a sudden, like in June, someone or he got the idea of, hey, you know what? I'm going to start stealing more bases. And I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, could you imagine how many stolen bases this dude would have if he was a priority from the beginning of the season? It seemed like it was when Mookie went down and he got moved into the leadoff spot. That's when he started stealing bases like crazy. And I heard this on ESPN.
I would agree. It felt like he really upped the ante there of like, all right, if I'm going to be in the leadoff, I've got to contribute like even more.
I heard this on ESPN LA this morning that based on the number of the steals that he has like since June, like he would be on pace if you projected it over a year to steal 90 bases. Like, I haven't seen that level of stolen base since like the 80s with guys like Vince Coleman and the Ricky. doing that kind of.
According to MLB.com, it looks like in the last 30 games, he's stolen 18. So 18 of the 46 that we're looking at, like that's a little under half right there.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, he's been going, and it's just it's so fun to watch. I really hope he does it. I hope he gets the 50-50. I want to see it. He will be the only one that's ever done it.
Even at 43, he'd already done what nobody had done at that point.
Yeah, but 50-50.
No, I'm not saying I don't want to not see him go there. I'm just saying, like, but let's stop for a minute and realize even 43, he just superseded those 6 guys or those 5 guys he just joined that club with.
Oh, yeah, we're totally getting greedy here. I mean, you're right. He's already done something that no one else has ever done.
Whoa, milestone. Can we acknowledge the one milestone before we shoot for the other one?
It's that episode of Seinfeld where they're on E and Kramer's just like, how far should we? Let's just keep going. Let's see how far we can go. That's what I feel like with Shohei right now, man. Get to the 50-50 because this is insane. And I'm telling you, I say this to people. I haven't been this excited about seeing someone steal bases since the Ricky. Now it's like he gets on base, and I want to see him steal.
And he's going to, and then somebody throws a wild pitch, and you're like, he didn't get an opportunity to steal.
Yeah, I'm more excited about the stolen base than I am the home run. I mean, it is just for me because that dude is so big. He shouldn't be moving as fast and he just makes it look so easy. And it's exciting. I love watching it.
I'm so happy to hear you happy about baseball right now. That warms my little blue Dodger blue heart.
Oh, and it hasn't stopped. I have even more Flores for you.
Oh, I have a couple myself. I've got a Will Smith and a Freddie Freeman in here. So
all right, go.
Will Smith, he's leading. I don't know where in the rankings, but he's already at his 29th caught stealing. So as far as controlling the running game, they were talking about his sidearm delivery being a huge improvement over last year. And he's caught 29 runners stealing. Like, that's pretty amazing from being able to pop up that quickly and then get that base, typically second base, like being able to accomplish that. Like,
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought that up because he does deserve Flores for that because it seemed years ago everyone and their mother could steal a base on the Dodgers. It was
last year. Last year.
So for him to be throwing out, I mean, he leads the. Does he lead all of Major League Baseball?
I don't know if he leads all of. I know at one point, like he was. I think he was leading at one point. I don't know. I don't have the stat, and I don't want Jose Ayala to call us out on the base. So I have a healthy fear of Jose Ayala behind the plate right now.
And then you said you had something about Federico.
Oh, and Freddie, he hit his 20 home run mark for the 11th time in his career. I mean, I think he's gone over that. I want to say, when did he hit that home run yesterday? That was his 21st. But when he hit that 20th in the top of the third, that's 11 seasons where he's hit at least 20 home runs. Like, there's some guys that are on their like second, maybe their sixth. Like, it's pretty impressive to have that kind of stat behind your name.
One of the things that I wanted to follow up in Toribio's article was he wanted to give credit to the role players. And look, I have been critical of Andrew Friedman in terms of the roster construction, but it does seem that the moves that he made at the trade deadline, along with people getting healthy, has made the bench have some depth, actually.
Tommy Edman, like that guy.
Yeah, that's where I'm going. Tommy Edman is, he got a big hit in Saturday's game, and the versatility that Tommy Edman gives this team, being able to play, not just play shortstop, but play a good shortstop. Like, you're not losing anything defensively by having Tommy Edman play shortstop. I think that's been huge. Yes, I think you still have the question mark of who's going to be your big left-handed bat off the bench. But speaking of left-handed bats off the bench, I know that people were really I saw it every time that Chris Taylor would make it out. Oh, this is why we got rid of Hayward. Well, I just want to point out to people that Chris Taylor is hitting over 300 since
Which
he
is
gave.
a far cry from the 60 he was sitting at the beginning of the season.
Like he's almost up to a 200, and I know everybody's like, "Oh, come on, Juan, you're gonna give this guy credit for almost hitting 200? That's still bad." But like Amie just said, the guy was hitting under 100.
He was like not even under the Mendoza line. Like he like tunneled below it and then like went to the center of the earth.
Look, he made some changes while he was on the injured list this last time. He made some changes to his batting stance. He is not wiggling his bat anymore. And as a result of that, it seems like I think it was Ricardo Lunes who was making this comment.
Yes, I was listening to it.
That because he got rid of that wiggle now, he's not swinging as late on these pitches. And what I'm saying is if this guy can somehow catch fire the way Gavin Lux caught fire in the second half of the season, this is a guy who can play multiple positions, and he's actually hitting. All I'm saying is you got guys like Kike swinging the bat better. Chris Taylor is swinging the bat better.
Those almost really helped his eyes.
Yeah, right? And then Miguel Rojas offensively is having a great season this year. So it's like you had said how great the offense. Go ahead.
For all the people who are like, oh, we can't have Miguel Rojas in for like as an everyday player, or he's too old, or he can't handle it. Like that guy killing it. I'm so happy for him. Okay, go on.
Look, the platoon has always been something that has been a complaint, especially with how the Dodgers manage the platoon. But I will say this, so far, the platoon is working. I mean, right now, Andrew Friedman looks like a genius because the chess moves that he has made are working. Now, Andrew's going to be measured and tested based on what happens in the postseason. But right now, those contributions, these moves that they're making are paying off. So I want to give flowers to Chris Taylor because the guy's been catching strays the whole year, and he's actually playing really well ever since he came back from the injured list.
And just this Dodgers team as a whole, like in that Monday game, in the third inning, the team hit for the cycle. Like Theo almost hit for the cycle himself in that game. Like it just what they're doing, it's so fun to watch them play. And I got a bunch of messages on Sunday as far as like, oh, I turned the game off, or I'm not even watching it. Are you still watching the game? And for me, I was still watching it. Back to our points earlier in the season, like it doesn't feel good to lose, but I still want to see these guys play. Like I want to see, okay, if they remove, the key players in the third inning, do we have a chance to come back? Do we have a chance to like kind of chip at that lead? We did get to see Kike pitch again on Sunday. It was unfortunate. He had that sterling ERA, and now he's at 5.40 after 3 games. So I'm a little bummed out for him, but it is what it is. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'm out of flowers, so the only thing I have left is fertilizer. So unless you have some more flowers, I'm ready to get rid of this fertilizer.
Oh, I don't have a bunch of fertilizer, but I would just say Ben Kasparius, great job, came in his major league debut, and he got the win. So kudos to him. I mean, he threw 12 pitches, 10 of them were strikes. He got out of the inning. He had his debut out of the way, and then, optioned back down. So we'll see him again, hopefully.
All right. Well, here comes my fertilizer. And this is the third part of Toribio's article, and this I agree with him. And that is starting pitching remains a concern for the Dodgers. Now, this series I think deserves a caveat because Kershaw got hurt in the second inning, so it forced a bullpen game on Friday. Robleski is a rookie that came in on Sunday, and he got hammered.
Poor guy had to just wear it, and you knew that's where it was going.
Yeah, but I will say this. So you were missing, I mean, the Serpientes lined up their best pitchers this series, right? The Dodgers saw the Serpientes' best pitchers, and the Dodgers won 3 out of 4. So I think it's huge that they were able to hit Gallen the way they were able to hit Merrill Kelly.
Fought.
Fought they didn't hit, and that concerns me because I
But
don't
they
like
still
I don't like the,
got 3 runs off of him, considering how badly that went. So
the Fought one concerns me because it's a left-hander, and I am just not a fan of the Dodgers' all right-handed lineup. I think it's a weaker lineup than when they go with their lefty lineup, but they were able to get Eduardo Rodriguez, and he's a lefty. They got to him.
there were some LA comments mixed in throughout that game.
Yeah, and so I mean, Gavin Stone, he had a rough first inning, but he calmed down and he gave them innings. Could you imagine if Gavin Stone didn't, right the ship in that game? What the bullpen would have looked like?
Robleski had that awful second inning, and then the third he gave up 2 home runs. But after that, he settled down, which, the damage is done at that point. But still, it's not like he was continuing to, he was able to at least find some stability, which I give him credit for that.
Look, there was a lot of runs scored. I mean, I think they ended up, the final tally, I think the Serpientes outscored the Dodgers in this series, but lost 3 out of 4. And this is an offense. So I know a lot of people love to use the Dodgers' injuries for an excuse. So let me make one an excuse for the Serpientes. The Serpientes were missing a third of their lineup. And it's not just a third of their lineup, it's their best hitters.
Christian Walker, Ketel Marte.
And their catcher.
Mm-hmm. Is it Moreno?
Yeah, Moreno.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not like they were missing a bunch of chumps. Like they were missing all the heavy hitters, and they still scored double-digit runs.
I was gonna say, to be fair, because some of those guys were out, they picked up people like Josh Bell at the trade deadline, and you saw what Josh Bell did to the Dodgers.
It's not what Christian Walker does to the Dodgers.
Well, that's fair. That's fair. But in lieu of him not being on there and not having any power in his spot, he still did some damage.
Yeah, but so again, it'd be different if the Serpientes were doing this against Glasnow, Yamamoto, Flaherty. I guess right now Gavin Stone's going to be your 4 because you just don't know what's going on with Kershaw. But if they were doing this against the Dodgers' best pitchers, then I'm just kind of like, ooh. I mean, the good thing is the way it stands right now, the Show Pods and the Serpientes are going to play each other in the playoffs. So one of them is going to get knocked out, and the Dodgers are, if things stay the way they are, the Dodgers are going to end up seeing one of those teams, whether it be the Show Pods and the Serpientes. And so it might be revenge time, but I do agree with Toribio in the sense it makes me a little nervous only because Gavin Stone is a rookie. Would we see him in a playoff game have a start kind of like what he had on Saturday, where he has a rough inning, and it's just too much for the Dodgers? They can't recover from that.
Well, and that's the danger, right? We don't have the consistency. We're still hoping that they ramp up Yamamoto in time, but the goal, I think, today with him in Oklahoma City is 3 innings. And you've been saying this all along, is he going to have time through September? And Dave Roberts is pushing we should be good to go by the postseason. But it is still cutting it close, to your point in earlier episodes. And we still don't even have a time frame on Tyler Glasnow because he's just continuing to play catch. So he may not even be in the picture at this point.
Yeah, and that I think Toribio is right in that sense, is that starting pitching is a concern and should be a concern. Now, that's why for me it's going to be very interesting to see if what Walker Buehler and Mitcher.
I was just gonna say, look at you trying to make fun of me and then biffing his name. Good job.
I think if Walker Buehler did find something in that Orioles start, because look,
Well, we're gonna see tonight because he's playing the Angel, or he's pitching, starting in the Angel series.
He did not give any help from his defense in that game. And if he did, his start looks much, much better. So if Buehler has figured something out, because it looks like his curveball is a pitch that he's getting a lot of success with, I'm curious to see if he starts riding that a little more. I'm curious now if Buehler has finally, maybe it's not a matter of like him just letting go of the fact that I can't pitch the way I used to pitch, or maybe it's him just realizing this is who I am now and this is where I'm getting success.
I'm
And
feeling
if
like we need
Mitcher-
like a montage or something right now.
montage. So
We need a
look,
montage.
if those two figure something out, that's found money for the Dodgers. That is found money for the Dodgers going into the playoffs. But it's a big question mark. It's a big question mark.
Much like Jason Hayward going to Houston. Houston, we have a problem. So, you know.
Oh, I see what you did there. You are very good. All right, that's going to wrap things up. Before we leave, I just want to know, did we get confirmation? Did Hayward, the rumor was that when he doubled with the Astros, that he did the Freddie dance. I never saw proof of that. So is that just a rumor?
Oh, I hadn't heard that. So, but
Okay,
that doesn't.
so that's bullshit.
But I'm also not watching Astros games or following their social media.
All right, so we're gonna have to put some detective work on that. But Houston,
you're gonna have to Google some stuff.
That's right. So that's gonna do it for this episode. Amie, any last words?
Nada.
All right. Well, for those of you listening on the audio portion, please make sure you're subscribed to the podcast, rate us, write us a review, help spread the word. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. Hit that notification button, give us a thumbs up, leave us comments. We love engaging with you. And most importantly, make sure you're following us on social media, on X at BB Shangri-La, on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch at Baseball Shangri-La. She is Amie Cuevas. I am Juan Ramirez. Nos despedimos con un beso. Amie, say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye, people.